Bederow has a number item as well.
Mr. Bederow.
Thank you, Judge.
Honestly, go fuck yourself, sir. You don't say that, okay? You don't lose a trial where a jury acquits someone and finds them overwhelmingly not guilty and say, I gave my sincere obligation to look into this, and I'm telling you all I saw when she's guilty. Again, respectfully, go fuck yourself.
Swear again like that. That was, no, I mean, whatever. That was, I shouldn't have done that.
A few moments later.
You, as a prosecutor, have got to be out of your fucking mind.
Nose.
Dude, Jimmy, look at those ears.
The ears don't bother me as much.
No, I don't trust a man. I don't trust a man with a lobe like that. No,
really,
not a fucking chance.
The mouth is butthole to me.
Very thin, paper thin.
The nose.
Oh, the nose.
The brows.
Well, listen, I will tell you though, I kind of like a fucked up nose on a guy.
I like a big old honker. I like a big nose.
Old nose. Give me that big bitch. You know,
yeah,
like, I'm into it.
Come over here, cluck cluck.
Yeah.
I see some chickens that went moving on up in my biz, cluck cluck. You gotta be with the kids, the kids, the kids, the kids, the kids, kids.
And I go, oop, clutch, clench, Kegel, we did it all. And I go, oh, and what happened? And they go, well, we just got 4,000 plus pages, bitch. And I said, stop it. Show me it. Take me to Unimpound Town immediately, if not sooner. So what happens?
The bitch is here.
Why are you at a football game? Are you a Fonz correspondent?
Well, no, because it's only for men over 30. Okay? Have a great night, boys. Fuck off.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me.
Hey, Blues Clues, motherfucker.
Good morning, lovies. Welcome to Sunday service. We are brought together today on March 29th, 2026 to discuss all things Commonwealth fuckery and some awesome updates, some endings, some new beginnings, and we gather all our homos, our heteros, and our Mr. Mark Bederows. They are here, and we are going to have a magical day. In his name we pray, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of Attorney Mark Bederow.
Oh,
Good morning, Mr. Bederow.
Good morning. 1 sec, sorry.
Oh, he's a busy man. He's doing all the things.
I could bill somebody for that too, so that's great. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Am I light? Am I dark? Who is she? We don't know. So what a week. You have been a traveling man. You came up to Massachusetts, okay? And you made a splash on social media like I haven't seen in quite some time, Mr. Bederow. The ladies that I had in my DMs flooding me, asking me, is Mr. Bederow okay? Has Kimmy looked at his foot? So I don't think that they heard last week, Mr. Bederow, when you explained. Can you give everyone an update on your footsie?
It's fine. It's ankle injury. Gets treated. You go to an orthopedist, depending on the severity of the sprain and/or fracture. They put you in a boot, whatever. You move on from that. Physical therapy, and you're hopefully as good as new. But it's not that interesting. It happened. It's happened to me twice. It's the same one. Whatever. But I'm fine. You saw.
And are you following directions?
Mostly. I wore the boot. I mean, I can't stand that thing, but I'm not. I'm done with the boot. I'm on a kind of like compression wrap or that laced up.
Yes.
Whatever the hell they call it that I had to order from the orthopedist.
Coban. Yeah.
Whatever it is. It's better than the clunky moon boot looking thing. So, but it hurts. Whatever. Everyone hurts. What can you do?
Everybody hurts sometimes, they say.
That's what the man R.E.M. said years and years ago. Right.
Absolutely. So we are, at least we got that under our belts because, there are people that the gossip mill gets going and they can't stop. They wonder what has happened. what has happened to Mr. Bederow? Like,
no
as
good.
though you were in a kickboxing fight of some sort.
No
Not that
fight,
interesting.
no skiing, no skydiving. No, just
You weren't a
in
stunt
my
man?
no, just in my own home, which of course means I can't even sue anyone for this. So,
Well, okay, that's true. So that is good. I'm glad we got that out. I put my thumbnail for this Sunday service. I usually do. It's a you picture, and I say Sunday service. But another thing that took over the World Wide Web that I thought was 10 out of 10 was a picture at the Celtics game on Friday night of you and Mr. Bradel. I mean, floor seats, just having the best time. Two dapper dudes at the Celtics game. How was it?
well, they won, so
Yes, they
start from there. That's good against at the time what was one of the hottest teams in the league.
Mhm.
So win, that's good. Game's fun, company's fun, and nothing. Just you're in town, they're playing. So as part of the trip that was planned a long time ago,
Yeah.
court date moved, but the trip was booked. So you bring work with you, go to the game, get some good eats every now and then. I know there was a big event up North Country up there. I stopped by to see just because I was there. I did not come in for that. That's what I
Mhm.
would do. But so just made the best of the trip and had a little fun on the way. We're allowed to do that, people who hate us.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that the rapport between you and Mr. Bradel, I love that. Like, I used to really enjoy seeing Mr. Yannetti, my bowl of spaghetti, and Mr. Jackson together. Like, it's just for me to see your colleagues, and you also have respect for each other in your professions. And I just think that it is, I love to see that.
Yeah, no, we become very good friends. Obviously, work together, support each other, and
Mhm.
these things you never know when they're what I call arranged marriages with lawyers. You never know; they don't all work out the best. But no, this is fine. It's absolutely couldn't be better. We can socialize, we can eat food, we can work, we can deal with craziness, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what you want. It's worked out great.
For sure. That's
Yeah.
silver. He's a silver fox, that Mr. Bradel. I always say that. I go, our silver fox, Mr. Bradel.
He
And-
does have a lettuce, doesn't he? He's got great lettuce.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And from God. So lettuce from God is just, not bought, but neither here nor there. I love it all. He also had a very big week. We will get into that later on. But speaking of some good foods, you were able to have some good foods with one of our favorites as a day one Mazza maniac. Both you and I just have always enjoyed Mazza. His demeanor, his ability to bring people together and to have an impact in such a positive way. I always commend Mazza for that. He always, stays out of the mud, and he's just a really good human being. And I appreciate him, and I thank him for everything that he's done for the cases that we've covered. And I'm glad you guys got to see each other and have you went to Kowloon, right?
We did. Anytime there's an opportunity to go there, which is not every time. It's a little off the path, but just to show you how not North Shore I am, I just assumed because I was going to, godforsaken Lawrence all the way up there that it can't be that far from Saugus. It's actually like 45 minutes and it's a little off the path, but it's all the same to me up there. But no, he's great. Just a decent person. And in this kind of online circus that a lot of people, and you've seen it, experienced it, and how people turn on each other and just attack each other and gossip about each other publicly and whatever. He's a breath of fresh air. He's earnest, he's sincere. He raised a lot of money for a lot of people, certainly the case that just ended primarily. And it's nice to see his platform and exposure increase. But, you know, it's a good business model. You're a good person. People tend to like you. And if you're doing solid stuff and you're just a good guy, that's not a bad formula. So, you know, great to see him doing well.
And he really is. He's all the things, and he is growing, like you're saying, and his platform is also, and as it should. And I like to see the shine on Mazza, because what you feed grows, right? And I think that I do the best that I can, far from perfect. And I know that he is just somebody that I like to watch, I like to listen to, and to see him and you specifically. I mean, this week was a wonderful week for some. I feel like he's getting so loose up there now too, like in the most comfortable way of him being able to really not hold back in the opinions, because they're educated opinions. He's listening. He had you on after each day of the trial this week, and really got some great information out there, and to educate and to inform and to provide what people are looking for. Hello, could there be anyone better? I love to see it, and I love to see you on his show.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do it. Again, I like him. If there's a way to support him, if time permits, happy to do it. The only marketing advice I ever would have given him was when we first met him. He has that great radio voice.
Oh, so good.
And he was behind that like talking image that reminded me of Hal from 2001, you know, just the blinking light talking.
Yeah.
And he was almost like this international man of mystery, just like the voice behind Hal. You know, he could have probably milked that for another couple of months or a year, but no, all kidding aside, he's doing great.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's just just a little love letter, a shout out to our Mazza, and I will always be a Mazza maniac. And then also, I've had a hard time with my bracket. I've had a hard time with my college basketball. My March Madness has gone to shit umpteen times. Where are you at? Are you watching?
If you recall, I didn't do a bracket. My hope was, as I said, anybody but U of A, University of Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did a little score check last night. Saw Purdue had a modest lead at halftime. Got a little interesting, and then unfortunately, here we are. Arizona's in the Final Four. But you know, I don't really like I can't stand Duke. Never have. I don't like Michigan. Arizona, you know, obviously I despise. So honestly, I don't care. Just anybody but these people from Tucson.
Yeah. And I, of course, picked Arizona. So that shows exactly what it is. However, I picked it for our show. But when I was going, I had like a random square or something, and you had to cover points. And it ended up, I was Purdue yesterday, and I said, "Oh, it's happening. I'm Purdue." And then I was Purdue. Okay, I was Purdue. And they got gone. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So I'm out.
I had a dog in the fight this year. Neither one of my college or law school teams was around, so I don't care.
I can't believe you don't like Michigan. You seem like a Michigan guy. Like, you seem like you would like Michigan, no?
Yeah. No, I never have.
They don't do it for you.
No.
All right. All right. Well, and this Friday, I am going to be, because today is Sunday. So this Friday is Red Sox opening day at Fenway Park. You are going to be not home or around, or you would be coming with me. But I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there with bells on.
I'm going to see, I don't think the home opener, but maybe the second game or whatever. With some really looking forward to some really good seats in Arizona. See the Diamondbacks play next week. That'll be interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, I haven't been to that field in a long, long time, and certainly not where I believe we're going to be positioned. So, you know, it's not the same as Fenway, obviously. It's kind of a plastic kind of baseball environment out there compared to Fenway. But, you know, spring baseball be fun.
Nothing better. And like I said, that's a tradition for me since I've been little, to go to opening day, always the Fenway home opener. My mom started that with me when I was maybe 13, 12. And I love it. There is nothing to me personally like Fenway Park, like Gillette, people like Gillette, or you could go tour, or you could see Patriot Place or whatever. Like if you want history, if you want, like, there is nothing like just being down there and walking the banners, you know, being on Yawkey Way. There's just, I don't know. It's like magic to me.
Well, Yawkey Way is no longer the politically correct term because Tom Yawkey was Tom Yawkey from, things came out about him. Jersey Street, as terrible as that sounds, I mean, look, it's always been Yawkey Way. And now the whole environment outside of Fenway is, the guys screaming scorecards and just it's like the ultimate towny. It's great. It's Americana when you go out there and they're good and relevant. Football stadiums are never going to be like that. They can't be. Baseball is interesting because, it started with Baltimore at this point, almost 30 years or more ago, where they kind of went to making modern stadiums that had old feel. And that's one of the best things to ever happen in sports, because if you go to some of these cities with these stadiums, even though they're not old and they don't have tradition, they're great. I mean, like the best example is Pittsburgh. They have the most incredible baseball field out there, and the Pirates suck. I mean, they are just awful, but it's an incredible experience. Baltimore, obviously, Philadelphia is really nice. I haven't been to San Francisco. That's supposed to be a gem. Love to see that. I've been to many. Baseball stadiums are worth a tour. You're never going to do that with football.
Tour of my mom does that. My mom and my brother do it every single year. They mark off another baseball park.
Well, I've always talk to my son, I don't know when this will ever happen, that one summer we need to just drive the country and hit them all, or hit whatever's, or, map out a specific plan, whether it's the West Coast, whatever, go up. Seattle's supposed to be nice, all around. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, it's on the bucket list. It's on the bucket list.
On the bucket list. I love that. Yeah. All right. So we've done our little getting to know yous, or introductions. I did send you this week something that absolutely terrified you. And it was, somebody made the Nurse Kim, the neon sign, and then put Tiny Mary, Tiny Jesus, Tiny Chuck Norris, Tiny Punch, and a tiny Mr. Bederow. That's my Fab Five.
Okay.
Is it weird? Is it weird if I do get a tiny Mr. Bederow and I put him in the boom? Yeah. And I'm going to make it weirder.
This got really awkward really fast. Okay.
Okay. Ready? On your mark, get set. Don't do it. She did it. Oh, I know. Well, I'm doing it, Mr. Bederow. If somebody has a 3D printer and they make me a tiny Mr. Mark Bederow, you're in the boom. And that's it. It's period. Point blank. You think it's weird that they got little people looking things of you? I love it.
I guess I never knew if, you've made it when you make it to the boom. So.
Yes. Made it to the boom. All right. That's it. So. Okay.
Then your microphone boom.
Okay.
Hey.
Who is she? All right. So this week, what a week. It was Kelsey Fitz Simmons bench trial. That was in Lawrence Superior Court, correct?
Oh yeah, what a place! Yeah,
what a place. We love Lawrence. Just kidding, but no, we don't. We don't Also, don't judge. I felt like it was a little weird that people were saying "Oh, Lawrence is so terrible," and it's like, I love that city just because of it is. It's a mill city, right? So Lowell was a mill city. Lawrence is a mill city. And just because I think I did home care there for so long that I have an affinity to it. And those people are great people.
I'm sure the people are fine, but visually it just looks like time stopped in 1895 and just passed it by, and it never caught up. Whatever. Look, different. Like I said, it's a mill town. It's old. It's Rust Belt or whatever they call it. Courthouse is very nice.
Yeah.
Inside, a lot of these courthouses, out there are old and nice, but whatever, you go where they send you, as I like to say, and that's where they sent them, and they came in, they got what they wanted, they won, and they left, and that's it. So if it takes going to Lawrence, that's where you go.
Absolutely. And I think that last week when we had talked, we had discussed kind of the ways in which this bench trial could potentially, hypothetically, as our emotional support attorney, you gave us, hey, Kim and Glovies and everyone else, this could go in a multitude of different ways. You were so 100% right on Kelsey testifying. I believe that Kelsey Fitz Simmons taking the stand and her testimony specifically in cross-examination was some of the best, most credible testimony I have seen in any trial. Her tone, her tenor, her demeanor didn't change. She wasn't flustered. I believe she told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And it was truly something to witness and to behold. And I was wondering, with this verdict that came from Judge Karp of not guilty, you probably saw it coming from a mile away, but was there anything that tipped for you? Like, when did you know this is looking very good for Kelsey?
Well, first comment to what you said was, you mentioned cross-examination, and what cross-examination, because there was none, not really, which is a whole part of this. No, you just get people. I mean, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Obviously, you don't have to be a lawyer, but even some lawyers had some pretty bizarre, analysis of how this was going to play out. And you never know 100%, until a verdict comes in. You can't just be presumptuous, but you take again, from the outside, just and look through the lens of what's happening inside. This was always clearly going to be an acquittal. This always made perfect sense to be a bench trial. Not that you had to do it, but that we can get into that in a second. And this was always going to end up in a not guilty verdict based on reasonable doubt. I mean, it's always based on reasonable doubt, but I mean a legal defense, not a, oh my God, this is definitely what happened and this is, the way it was. So putting aside, you never know and can't assume, but you start out with the fact that you had essentially a case that never had anything to do with the background nastiness and drama from the baby daddy and his people. Ultimately, this was going to be very, very simple in terms of a triable case. There's either reasonable doubt or not that she picked up a gun and pointed it at someone other than herself to give evidence of an intent to use it unlawfully. So the judge, 100% correctly, particularly in a bench trial, repeatedly said none of that stuff means anything. And lawyers understand that. It doesn't. It may sound interesting. So, and then once you had a case where there were only going to be two potential witnesses to talk about this, obviously Noonan is not a potential witness. The other potential witness is Kelsey, clearly. And although you never, ever, ever want to say necessarily that, as a lawyer, the defendant is going to testify, I'm sure we talked about this the last time we spoke, in a practical sense, if this case goes forward and Noonan testifies, she pointed a gun at me and tried to shoot me, and the case is going to go to a verdict, she's going to testify because you need some evidence beyond just poking here and poking there if you want to be secure. And once she testified and explained very well, by the way, I mean, her demeanor, and I was actually shocked at how effective it was. But once she testified that I, wanted to self-harm and explained in context of what led me to that, this perfect storm of bad all happening at the same time. Right. And I'm thinking about this and that. and she said I didn't, point at him. And the prosecutor left that testimony quite literally unimpeached. I mean, and took the attitude that I'm just going to try to break it down on summation because I'm confident that it doesn't make sense because, I believe what Noonan told me. What you saw was just classic. You've been in the government too long. You have institutional bias. You have blinders on, and you can't read the room. Because if you think that prosecutor's summation was going to satisfy proof beyond a reasonable doubt by saying she's a liar, 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 and you know that because Noonan is credible, but you really have nothing to corroborate that, and you do have some problems. You have her sending him out of the room a few times. You have statements that she made and Noonan said, which are more or are certainly plausible to support the self-harm theory.
Right.
I mean, in many ways, it's just prosecution bias, arrogance, institutional bias to just think that you can tell the judge, well, the defendant is lying and the police officer, military veteran is telling the truth. And that's going to get you past reasonable doubt with no other real evidence. And so there was just no way once this became a legal defense. I mean, all you have to do is pitch the judge on reasonable doubt. And I remember, I don't want to get into too many details, but sitting in the back, as they're waiting, just talking to the lawyers and her, and just, what do you think from an outsider's view? And to me, it was going to be exactly what the judge did, which is he's going to find you not guilty. I mean, he has to. He's going to follow.
Right.
He's clearly takes his role seriously. He's fair. He's serious. So that's a good start. But I said what I suspect he's going to do is make it clear that I'm making an acquittal, a finding of reasonable doubt, very unemotionally, very based on I can't get to the burden. In other words, I said he's not going to attack Noonan. He's not going to say he's lying. He's not even going to say he's not credible. What he's going to do is to say, I've got Noonan saying this, okay? It doesn't go to beyond a reasonable doubt. There are a few issues, a few things that don't make sense. It's fast moving. And then he's got you, on the other hand, who gave very powerful testimony, all right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, with no other evidence, you don't know to that degree of confidence what happened. I mean, to this day, a lot of people, I understand a lot of people who support Kelsey Fitz Simmons would say it's overwhelming, no question. I don't even look at it like that because you don't have to. I mean, lawyers look at this differently, especially when you're not involved. So if I'm sitting here saying, I don't know what the hell happened, I think her story makes a lot more sense. I think it's supported by more independent evidence, but I'm not saying his story is 100% impossible, but if you're analyzing it like, I don't know what the hell happened here, or I certainly can't tilt the needle to this guy beyond a reasonable doubt, it's a guaranteed acquittal. And when he started giving his speech, if you will, which he didn't have to do. I mean, he clearly was aware of the public interest. I've had many bench trials where a judge says, okay, my finding is not guilty. You're free to go. And that's it. They just don't get into it. I've had it the other way too. But the judge was very aware of what was happening. He was nervous for the first time when it came to deliver his verdict. He was actually kind of over he was really in the moment, if you will. He looked nervous, but because he's a serious person, he knew that this was going to
the weight of it.
A lot of people. But the other thing is, and again, lawyers are always going to look at this differently, particularly lawyers with no skin in the game, where you don't have the pressure. But it was also clear within about 30 seconds of what he was saying that this is going to be an acquittal. Okay, once he starts talking about, multiple people can be credible, that's it. I mean, you see where this is going. And maybe I shouldn't have done this, but I actually leaned into Kelsey's stepfather. I was sitting next to him for the verdict. And when the judge quickly started talking about, more than one person can be credible, I just pat him on the back. You're good. Like you got to listen to all this, but you're good. Breathe. So the verdict was always based on the evidence, and certainly after Kelsey testified, it was over. There was nothing that was going to change it. You know, waving a gun around the courtroom and swinging from the chandelier, firing a gun in court, you know, especially in a bench trial, wasn't going to do it. Two other thoughts. Because this was always a reasonable doubt defense, in the sense that they're never going to meet their burden, that really is everything. Anybody who said, you know, how could they pick a bench trial, or these lawyers are idiots, honestly, those people are absolutely clueless. They're entitled to their opinion, but they're not lawyers. They don't try cases. They don't know how this works. The fix is not in. Coffindaffer, I saw your tweet, just idiotic to say defendants only pick jury trials when they know the fix is in. What a disgrace she is to say something that profoundly stupid. Other people, many people perhaps could say, well, a jury trial might be better. But you've heard me say this for probably more than a year now. I like bench trials under certain circumstances. And this is a really good set of circumstances for a bench trial. The other thing with the prosecutor, when it becomes a bench trial, which is out of your control, you need to adjust. I mean, so for example, they clearly wanted to dirty Kelsey up with these just irrelevant witnesses of Justin, the sister, the mean girlfriend, and all of that. And they had nothing relevant to add. And, you know, if they wanted to try to throw that mud in front of the jury, assuming it was admissible, I get it. You know, you get the jury, they get confused, who knows, but the judge doesn't want to hear this crap. What the judge wants to hear is corroboration for your main witness. And he doesn't offer any corroboration. He offers the family people to say, you know, oh, we think she's a bad guy. It's just stupid. The other thing that people don't think about, there's a lot of moving pieces when you're a lawyer and what the goals are. And do people understand that this woman has not seen her child in however long? I don't even know what the time period is. My point in saying that is this: when you do a bench trial and you are confident you're going to win, in whether it's a bench or jury, okay? One thing you're not going to get is a mistrial. You're not going to get a hung judge, okay? Now, so
huge.
What if, even if you're confident you're going to win, you do get a juror you can't go with, you end up getting a hung jury, and now the criminal case is going to drag on another 4, 5, 6 months, whatever. What else do you think is happening in that 4, 5, 6 months, which is harmful to the client's interest? She's not going to see her kid. Okay. I mean, you're under indictment for trying to shoot someone and using a gun unlawfully. That doesn't do anything for you in family court.
No.
So, I mean, although a hung jury isn't a conviction, in many ways, that would have been a loss.
Yeah.
Defense. So there's a lot of moving parts. The lawyers know what they're doing. The client follows the advice. And by the way, when this analysis is going on for all these people, you know, who are smarter than the lawyers and just have no clue, you have the legal team consists of, you know, a very experienced criminal defense lawyer, a former prosecutor in Boston, tried murder cases, all that. And co-counsel was the former elected DA of Middlesex County and the former Attorney General of the state of Massachusetts. Respectfully, they kind of know how to analyze and didn't just, you know, ooh, we're morons, so let's just, you know, because, you know, the Twitter trash bags and other experts are going to tell us how to do it. So a bench trial made perfect sense. He followed exactly the blueprint that you would want in terms of establishing reasonable doubt, and he gave the proper result, and he justified it. And by the way, that doesn't mean, you know, a lot of people, oh, Noonan is this or that. I don't even have an opinion of that. What he couldn't do was provide proof beyond a reasonable doubt, period. So she's not guilty. That's the system working.
That is. And it was great to hear that speech or with that verdict being read before it rather, because Judge Karp really did take his time, was so methodically to explain why. He was like, I'm not here to talk about Noonan's use of force. I'm thankful that I'm not, right? Because this was very difficult. It was a unique, and I believe he said that it was a very rare circumstance that he did find both like credibility with kind of what Noonan said, but he specifically said credibility of what Kelsey said on the stand. I went back and listened and I was like, wow, that if he finds her credible, then you just, like you're saying, you just knew. If you are at all finding an alternate position than what the Commonwealth told you as a possibility, then you did not meet the burden, correct?
The prosecutor tried a horrible case. It is what it is. Okay. No, in my view, strategic prosecutor with a fact pattern like this is going to prevail by letting her testimony go untouched and not even trying. I mean, give it a college try. There are certain things you have to come after her. And by the way, you may not get her and you may not meet your burden anyway. But you know, when you have evidence, I'll give you a perfect example. There was a statement that came out in her direct examination, something along the lines of, I'm telling the medical people, you know, I tried to shoot myself with an empty gun or some, whatever it was.
Yeah.
If that were not true, not the subject of what she said, the fact I said that, not the truth of the matter asserted. I don't want to get in all the hearsay and reliability, but if it were not true that she literally did not say that, where are the hospital records or somebody to impeach that? Okay, because when people get treated at the hospital and somebody's in there with a gunshot wound and they start talking about statements, whether they be in furtherance of treatment or factually about what happened to them, they write
documentation.
It would be there. It would just be there. And there was no, attempt to impeach that, which only leaves you with two possibilities. One, they just didn't do it because they're shockingly incompetent, which is probably not the case in this regard. And two, the records probably supported that. But you had a situation too where there was no dispute that she lied about where the firearms were located. Okay. I mean, nobody disputed that. Now,
she said I lied.
Right. Now, that's understandable in some regard, given what's going on. However, don't you want to go after that, make it clear in front of the judge, you lied. You are willing to lie.
Yeah.
Something that would help you and see where that leads to. And then the inference to the judge is, do you see what I'm saying here, Judge? Now, again, I think she in that lie has a good real world explanation if you accept that it's plausible she didn't want them around. But the point to the judge is, if somebody is willing to lie to help themselves get what they want, that's what we believe is happening here. Just screaming and yelling and shrieking that she's a liar, she's a liar, she's a liar, but Noonan isn't. That's not exactly a winning formula for proof beyond a reasonable doubt in a fast-moving shooting of police officer to other police officer, where you just are never going to really get any real corroboration for what happened other than, don't do it, which I think most people would say sounds more consistent with gun at the temple than gun at else's forehead. And the other red flag that look, sometimes you got to just take lessons from what people are doing.
Right.
When a grand jury rejected this story of attempted murder.
Yes.
Okay. Now remember, that's with Noonan testifying She tried to shoot me in the face. The gun clicked. I mean, presumably the same story with a lower burden of proof, just probable cause, no defense argument, no cross-examination, no Kelsey testimony, no nothing. And a grand jury said, I mean, there comes a point that a prosecutor has to kind of scratch their head and say, what's the problem here? That is a major, major red flag, because to not get an indictment in that situation where a credible police officer says, I'm just responding, doing my job, and I have a gun and I had no choice, and this is what I did. And a grand jury says, I'm not even buying that on the lower standard of proof. And basically we push the button, and every time a prosecutor says, please indict, and they refuse to do that, and they split the baby, with, unlawful and possession or intent, whatever it was, that's a red flag. They should have followed.
Right. And if you go back to also the medical part, the components of it, Mr. Bederow, that was very interesting to me. I remember hearing Lieutenant Daly, and I talked about this in like a day one stream I did. It was that he said when Kelsey was on the floor of her bedroom, when he went over to her and was, quote, wrapping her in gauze, which I was like, Jesus, God help us all. Like, this is a first responder. That's terrifying. As he had already assessed that she did have an entry wound and exit wound. And it was kind of corroborating her story. Day one, in my opinion, as a medical professional, was hearing her say, I'm sorry, I just want to die. Right. And repeating that, I'm like, okay, so if you just allegedly tried to shoot your colleague, why are you on the ground and saying that to the lieutenant that you want to die? I'm sorry, I just want to die.
Look, you can spin that either way. I think I think the more likely plausible scenario is that's consistent with a suicidal, oh my God, all of that. Now they could say, oh, she's apologizing because I freaked out. But the point is this: you can't exclude the defense theory. And Kelsey, don't do it. That is much more consistent with, you don't negotiate when somebody tries to murder you by shooting you in the face during that 2 or 3 seconds. You shoot him, which is what he did. It's not a great case. It never was. In terms of a criminal case for a conviction. And the reality here is it is entirely plausible that Noonan, whatever he did, he overreacted, or, this is a theory. I don't know that this happened. It's fast moving. You don't know. There is a gun. You freak out. You shoot her. And in that situation, the brain starts processing. Okay. She's on the ground. There's at least a good chance she's going to die. You just plugged her in the chest from 3 feet with a, high-powered firearm. So what are you thinking? Oh, crap. Here we go. They're going to look at me, internal affairs, the DA, all this. And you know what? If I say she tried to shoot me and I had to shoot back, they're going to call and there's no witness because she's dead. Then you know what? That's going to get swept under the rug as a good shoot. Oh, she's a whack job anyway. She's crazy. All that. She pulled a gun. I shot her. Done. And here's the thing. When you're a police officer and that's your story. Now, I'm not saying it was, again, let's just assume hypothetically he overreacted, but he has to go with that story. That is not dipping your toe into the pool in the shallow end to check the temperature of the water. That is diving headfirst into the deep end of the pool, and there's no getting out. That story, because if you do, you're going to get investigated for what the hell's. So that's the story, and I'm sticking to it. Now, that's what he went with. He'll tell you it's the truth. Maybe, but it's not provable to that level of proof that the prosecution needed. But I also think nobody can seriously believe, I think, that he just tried to kill her, meaning that he just intentionally wanted to shoot her. I think that's ridiculous as well. I think
both polar ends. Yeah, absolutely.
People need to take off not everyone, but there's no tinfoil hat here. Okay. The guy didn't go in looking to execute his ex-colleague or, I mean, that's just ridiculous. If anything, he would have overreacted, and then he made a terrible, terrible choice to cover it up by saying she pulled on me. And if you believe that's the case and the evidence supports that, then he deserves a ton of criticism for that. And if he lied under oath and all of that, but the idea that he went in there and just looking to kill her, I think that's ridiculous. I don't think he went in there, as an Alayan stooge or any. I mean, look, yeah, he did other things. He really tried to downplay his relationship with her, which is, I think, was
why were you distancing? Yeah.
That's foolish, and that's again the fault of the prosecutor. Why would you walk away from that? Why not have the guy testify that this was a traumatic event and it was me or her? We're trained to do this, and the minute again, you're gonna go with that story. She pulled on me. You're damn right. I pointed that gun at her chest, and I had no choice to pull, and I was gonna pull until she dropped, because I have to neutralize the threat. Now, the other thing is, it would have been interesting and probably more helpful for him to have something beyond the personality of a dial tone when describing this, because I just think the way he did, matter of factly, like he's talking about, widgets and nothing, and just
widgets.
It's boring. What happened? Well, I went in there and she pulled the gun and, pointed it at my face and shot me. So I, told her, don't do it. And, then I shot her and, then what's for dinner? I mean, I was shocked at how, to the extent you really wanted to impress the fact finder and explain the viewpoint of what the police officer is going through, maybe a little living in the moment and explaining your full thought with a little emotion would have carried more weight because police officers do have the most dangerous job in the world. And if his story was true, which I'm not saying it is or it wasn't, if his story was true, he had every right to unload on her, kill her right there, and tell everyone, I hated doing this, but I had to. And if that were true, he did nothing legally wrong at all.
Mm-hmm.
The other part of his story that made no sense to me at all was cops yell, gun, gun, gun. That's what they do. They want to alert other police officers that there's a threat, not only to help themselves, help him, but to be aware, help themselves, come up, do this. And to never do that, we're going to talk about how tactical and how trained. I don't doubt any of that, but I would turn that against him.
Oh, absolutely.
Part of your training is, aren't you going to make the other cops aware that there's a freaking lunatic with a gun who's trying to murder me?
Yeah.
Never happened. Never happened. That makes no sense to me.
Did you now listen? I'm directionally challenged. Okay. I mean, I still have to do this, Mr. Bederow, for like lefts and rights. It's not good. Don't judge. But
you're right. Although not on camera, it looks different.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? Like we got to do the things. And so when they were going through, or when Noonan was describing what position Kelsey was, all the things in the room, it went from like 3 feet. He was 3 feet away. He could have had put his arm out and been able to touch her. Then it was 5, 7, all the way to 15 feet. I don't know about you, but I know every little friggin' Cape house in North Andover, and there's not 15 feet.
It was again, he comes on. Look, I'm not, the judge doesn't believe that he's necessarily not credible. But having said that, if you're trying to win on these facts, which again, I think is a burden too far, a bridge too far, they were never going to get there. Sometimes the case is filet mignon, as we say. Other times, it's, you got to make the patties. This prosecutor had patties to work with. It really, notwithstanding what they tell you on Twitter, because, they hate people involved in the case, therefore Kelsey bad. The only way that they were ever going to make Noonan even remotely credible enough such that he carries the burden, which I think is an impossible task, would be to show some feeling and also yield some ground in the sense, this was so fast moving. I can't tell you every step. Look, I was there. I went in there. We had this terrible thing. She's a colleague. I care about her, as a colleague, not that they had a great relationship. And I can't remember, Zapruder film style, frame by frame, but within a matter of seconds, okay, there was a gun pointed at my face. She pulled the trigger, then she got jammed, and I had that second or two and had no choice as much. And he should have said, to shoot a colleague with deadly force. Like, why didn't he give this soliloquy to just say the emotion of, even in that 1 or 2 seconds to say, oh my God, I'm about to kill the woman I just used to work with to serve an order on, but she's trying to kill me and I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And when he gets locked in with every action and you know what he's doing, the more detail he gave about this, that, and where she was and what she did, he's making the timeline seem greater. Like,
yes.
We all know this is a matter of like 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. But the more time he makes this feel like, the worse his credibility is, because again, where is the, gun, where is all of that he never did? And the more time that elapses, the less believable it becomes. And I just feel like with a judge, it's not quite as important as it would have been with a jury. Mm-hmm. But whether you believe her or not, Kelsey's testimony and her demeanor, it was riveting. I was watching it just from an airport.
Yeah.
Wow, this is like really captivating.
Yeah.
Whereas Noonan, again, is just talking about going to the store and buying widgets. It was just, it was
with the widgets,
but it was just so nothing.
You're right though. And like MLO Bunny said, like, he was cold. I felt it's numb. It almost comes across as like a numbness, an indifference, an indifference to the situation, like very weird. It's an odd, like, because Kelsey was calm, her demeanor was calm. She thought about every question. And when Mr. Bredel was, getting her testimony in direct, I was like, okay, he's almost like God bless Mr. Bredel. He's like leading her a little bit because he knows the story so well. And the judge was like, hey, Mr. Bredel, calm you, like she'll get to the unfolding of what the events happened and what happened next. But when Gubertozzi comes up and he is asking her and says, well, every time you go into a mental health patient's home, this is where I was like, bitch. He goes, into that volatile situation. It's always going to be a volatile situation. She's like, listen, you want to keep every single person in every situation safe, number one. But to say volatile, she thought about it, paused, and said, volatile. I wouldn't say volatile when describing mental health, respectfully, sir, because you're not specifically saying, if you have somebody with a history of like a schizoaffective disorder, with a history of violence, of this, of that, any mental health, 1 in 2 of us have a mental health diagnosis. Think before you speak to our prosecutors, right? Like it could be Nurse Kim has had anxiety since the womb. So like, what are we doing here? That those are things that you should think about, in my opinion, before you say it.
If your cross-examination on these facts and your cross-examination of Kelsey Fitz Simmons, knowing the issues, knowing whether she drew or not beyond a reasonable doubt, knowing how powerful her direct examination was, knowing how she completely marshaled my world collapsing and it led me to this. If your cross-examination of her is a philosophical discussion trying to justify Noonan and who he is, that's your cross-examination, then you should just pack up your bag and go home. What are you doing? Right. You need to undermine her credibility.
Right.
And you're not going to undermine her credibility again by having an abstract philosophical agreement or disagreement about whether each job is volatile or not. And you know what? Because she's a police officer, who cares? Okay, she either drew the gun or didn't and pointed it at this guy.
Amen.
Okay, and she gave her version of events. Your version has a few holes poked in it. You're losing, sir. You need to do something with her testimony, and having a philosophical debate with her over this with a snivelly attitude, by the way, and then just capitulating and say, I'm done here. That's not a winning formula. It can't be.
It was shocking to me that for me, the last question or the last statement from the prosecution being that Kelsey was in the argument with Justin, okay? That she's in an or that she had an argument with Justin and that she was at that time like angry or frustrated at Justin. Is that correct? And she's like, well, yeah, I knew I was in an argument with my fiance. Yes. And like, he's like, and that's true. And then he doesn't even, and then he's like, I have no further questions. And it's like, well, what the shit? What just, I was like, okay, I was like, are we glitching here? What do you mean? What do you mean that is where you're going to end? Because that is going to prove, in my opinion, that she knew that okay, so there's a strained relationship with Justin. How does that equate to I'm raising a gun to point at my colleague Noonan because you didn't even ask her questions about what transpired in the bedroom?
It was a complete capitulation.
It's so weird.
But also, know your audience. You're dealing with a very intelligent judge. He knows the issues. He's repeatedly telling the parties, I don't care about I care about whether there's proof beyond a reasonable doubt of her drawing on him. And imagine, you're the judge, and this is what they give you, okay? They don't even try really to discredit her with other than, my witness is better than their witness, okay? But what I am going to give you, Judge, is Justin, his sister, the mean girl, former friend, who have quite literally nothing to add. And if you're a judge, any fact finder really, but in particular a judge, you have to be sitting there saying, what are they doing? Why are they giving me witness after witness on irrelevant nonsense just to say she's a whack job, which is what Noonan said, but not giving me any proof to corroborate or break down Kelsey's story about the issue that occurred on that horrible day in the bedroom in the span of 5 seconds. I mean, you think the judge doesn't see what they're doing?
No, of course. But that, if you go back and think about that as well, though, with Noonan and his recount, I felt like it was a bridge too far and he lost credibility for me, not in what was happening with the incident and not those seconds that changed the trajectory of this entire case. But when he was saying that he was assuming that maybe her state of mind was that he was in the way of Kelsey going to a basement to unalive Justin. Do we live in an alternate universe right now? In what world should that have ever, and also Noonan, hello, hi, how are you? Are you new? What are you? And you're not new. You've been a police officer you're one of the most senior officers on that department. That's weird. That was a cringe moment for me to hear.
Well, and also, again, to me, it doesn't make any sense for the simple reason all of this would have happened in a couple of seconds, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If honest to God, and again, I don't know what happened. I just know there's reasonable doubt. So if she, honest to God, pointed, fired, he immediately draws, he's caught off guard, and then blasts her, there is no way that he's processing anything other than kill or be killed. Okay.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You're not thinking in that 2 or 3 seconds, oh, she's going to get Justin or she's going to do this. No, your training is deadly force is being used against me. She just tried to murder me. She has a gun. She's trying to reload, re-rack, whatever. I have choices. Not really. You have a choice, which is put her down. That's your choice. And if anything, he would have been thinking about his training. Other than that, in that second, it would have been notify my brother officers that there's a lunatic with a gun trying to kill me and scream out, not Justin's downstairs and this and that. All that clearly would have been after the fact because he's talking to other people and they're trying to piece it together. That clearly could not have in real time entered the equation. The only thing he's thinking about right then and there is kill or be killed and alert the cops during that process. And all of that would have happened in a matter of 2 to 4 seconds.
Yeah. And what was your feeling? Now, I had conflicting feelings, Mr. Bederow, on Houston. Like when Kelsey came up on the stand and said that Houston actually was the closest to her, I had assumed Noonan was. And then when she went through her thought process of like why I handed the baby to Noonan, she was like, I trusted all 3 of them at the time, right? If you're going back in time, you trust all 3, the Lieutenant Daly, Houston, and Noonan. She gives her baby to Noonan because he has children, right? And she was like, oh, I just knew that he had kids, blah, blah, blah. And he even made a comment or something like, oh, it's been a while, etc. Now, Houston going downstairs and saying that, like, I wanted to help Kelsey out. I believed him in that. Like, he was like, I wanted to help Kelsey out by saying, I want to de-escalate the situation. And not have Justin in the house. This is just Houston. And then I felt like he got tripped up though, because he had made 2 very conflicting statements of what he heard when he was walking up the stairs or running back up the stairs versus what his statement said. So on the stand, Judge Karp even was like, hey, I'm not saying anything. I'm not trying to be negative here, but we've got 2 radically different statements. So which is it? Right. And I could see it on his face. Like I feel like I could, of him being like him struggling a bit because I don't think that he had malintent. But I think maybe he got wrapped up because the aftermath, you're going to have to make a statement. You're going to have to do whatever you're doing days later, which you have the cool down period. But like, what did you feel about him? Did you have any takeaway on his testimony? Nothing.
No, but what you just said is another reason why there's going to be reasonable doubt. I mean, the fact that we don't know, and he may be confused or he may be conflicted, and not legally conflicted, but conflicted.
Right.
It's inconsistent with this. It's all happening at the same time. This is why they are never going to get to the burden of proof in this case. Look, certain cases, just whatever people think happened, even if the prosecutor, honest to God, believes that this was an attempted murder, whatever, this case was never ever going to result in a conviction. Not for this. And again, they couldn't indict on the exact same theory. And the grand jury just, they threw them a bone. They gave them a lesser charge. Well, she might have tried to point it, but I'm not going to say that she tried to kill you. That doesn't even make sense. I mean, he claims he heard the click. You either believe him or you don't, right? The grand jury, the baby here is like, I don't know, cop says she pulled a gun, but maybe she didn't try to kill him. Let's just do this. But they clearly didn't believe to a level of confidence everything Noonan was saying, because I haven't seen his grand jury testimony, but I assume it was the same. He specifically described the click, which was a point of emphasis in that, when the prosecutor was, swinging from the chandelier in the closing argument, waving a gun around, which is never seen that before. That's something to talk about. But I will also say this. This is another part where I think it was a tactical error, because you got to know the audience. In a bench trial, particularly in front of a judge who is really sober. I don't mean alcohol sober. His personality is sober. He's a serious man.
Yeah.
He doesn't make jokes. He's all business, and he's fair. He's respectful, but he's all business. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the kind of closing argument as a prosecutor. You got to dial it down and explain and get rid of the histrionics. Okay.
Yeah.
Focus on the evidence, which is frankly, what you saw Tim do. His summation was very drier than you might have expected.
Yeah.
It's not anything other than an experienced lawyer knowing the audience, knowing the issues in the case, and knowing what I need to do. It's different in front of a jury than it is in front of a judge. And they kind of role reversed in the summation. So I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. Want to take is it Jose Bar's coffee break time?
It is. Yeah.
It sure is. All right. We're refueling. And this episode is brought to you by no one. Just me and Mr. Bederow. Sunday service. And Mr. Bederow's favorite song on the World Wide Web. Burr, burr. Get your refills. Find a way. Have a great Sunday. Just kidding.
All right, kill the music. It's terrible. Oh my God, that's such awful music. I can't hear you. Nobody can hear you.
Okay. Well, you know what? I was busy beating up the beat. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Loud and
Can you see
clear.
me?
I can see
Can
you.
you see me? Okay, good.
Yes.
All right. Or what'd you get? Did you make a cappuccino? What are you doing?
No. Today it's still on the pot. Today is Delicious Orchard's toasted almond.
Oh.
Yeah, very
good.
not big on flavored coffee, generally, but this is really good.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't drink coffee. I drink tea. You know this. I just do always a black tea from the Dunks or anywhere. Lipton is my favorite. Don't make it weird. Okay. So yeah, like just ending with, I think ending with Kelsey right? Or ending with how this has unfolded. It always was supposed to go this way. I think that you're absolutely correct. I always appreciate the analysis and that you called it, right? Like, oops, he called it. Oops, he knows all the things. Want to know why? Because he's amazing.
No, it's not rocket science. It's not about that. It's just analyzing it. And
Yeah.
if you have a fact finder and a judge who is going to be honest to the process, the burden of proof is not met. I mean, this is not a controversial FU or, Noonan's wire. As a legal exercise, this case was a mess. And I mean, obviously the fact that, she sat in the can for 100 days over the most ticky-tack non-violation makes it that much worse. And I mean, everything about this process, as you've seen, is just grotesque.
And now moving forward, Mr. Bederow, like, I know that we're not family court typical. Like you're not family. Are you? You've never done family court. You're a criminal defense lawyer.
Well, if there are criminal issues that overlap, I mean, like something like this, yeah. I mean, pure custody, no, I don't do that. But the issues are similar, and you have, what are they going to do at this point? It's going to move to full-on war with this family and everything else, and who's cross-examining these people with all the things they've done and attacking their credibility and alleged crimes and whatever. Yeah, you're going to have criminal lawyers as part of that process because in essence, that's what you're doing, right? I mean,
right.
All that matters in family court is what's in the best interests of the child. And, is it in the child's best interest from Kelsey's position that he be in the exclusive custody of Justin? Well, I think you know the answer to that.
I do. And did you happen to see, I don't know if it's appropriate to, but did you happen to see did you see Richie's?
No, I didn't see a video. I heard like a 2-minute clip of
the audio,
something of him banging his head and falling down, presumably drunk, like if he fell down 3 times, and him just talking to her like she's a piece of garbage. Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, I heard that audio as well, and I
don't know the context. I don't know the rest of it. I mean, obviously that's not a good look for him, clearly.
Yeah, it's not a great look. And I think that if we go by the affidavit that was filed, that it would be indicative that possibly that was Mother's Day. So that would have been May 2025. And first, it's challenging and it is triggering for people who have potentially lived through or, had family members that have maybe lived through situations where there is verbal abuse, there is gaslighting, there is kind of reactive abuse that can come about. It is different in the like kind of overall tone than I was thinking about when I watched the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, because like Amber Heard is recording, but she is doing it in a way to get the reaction. So when Johnny does flip his shit, it is because I believe, and that's what the jury found as well, was that like these are precipitating events that took place that like she instigated it to to get that and to record that in order to maneuver.
I mean, look, I don't know that much about the family court stuff. I know about the allegation and the video of him breaking in and smoking drugs and all that. And I don't know about it other than what I'll tell you is this. If it is true that he tried to take the dog and denied the grandparents access, meaning Kelsey's family access to his son, then he is a complete piece of garbage.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. And I think that it only makes me so sad though, Mr. Bederow, because if you look at Kelsey as a whole, and I mean, God bless any trial that we've covered, right? Or in Karen and Aiden and everyone. And it's just like to think of Kelsey going to jail for over 100 days, being at Mass General Hospital for over 50 days for an inpatient stay after sustaining a gunshot wound, a GSW to her chest, still suffering from the physical, emotional, and spiritual ramifications of what has happened to her. I look at this and it's like the toll is so great, right? Like, and I fear that in the 9 months that she hasn't had contact and been able to see her baby, her little baby, that she won't be made whole by it, no matter, being found not guilty and, maybe getting custody back and having a prevention. Like, you have to deal with Justin, you have to deal with this family for 18 years, and yet everything has been taken still.
You can't be made whole if you are incarcerated on a case for which you were acquitted and lose your infant or close to infant child for a period of time. I mean, you can compensate it. There's legal things that can happen, but you can't make up for that. And I'm not like a child psychologist or anything like that, but I would imagine it's particularly bad for the child at that age where they're trying to get the connection with a young mother. And I mean, even though consciously the baby's at an age where you don't really have memories, like where you can go back and say, I remember that, but there has to be something bad about not being around your mother and nurturing and establishing that bond. Again, I leave that for others to know what it really means. But I mean, look,
think about your hierarchy of needs, right? Like, even think about like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, when we have, and just a base level of sociology, of psychology, that in attachment phase of a child's life, like that is just, it's just so important. And no matter what happens, there is that void. I think that I am a proponent of believing that when she is reunited with her son, he'll know, like, I believe he'll know it's her, but like that time that you were supposed to have the bonding, you now have an abandonment wound, and an abandonment wound that no matter, what you say was malice, like, because you were put in frickin' jail, you were hospitalized. Like, this is really terrible.
The bad part about anything family court, especially when it's like this clearly is, again, all you care about is the best interest of the kid. And if you're the mother or the mother's family or the mother's friends, I mean, you just despise this guy. You just think he's the worst. And then you sit there and you say, it's my son's father. So how do you negotiate that? On the one hand, to the extent both parents are living and, whatever, you want two parents. And it just, so, when you sit there, your natural instinct is, I wanted to seek and destroy. That's not always the best thing to do. And now if you want to get back, you may have to fight if they're trying to deprive you of everything, and you may seek custody or whatever it is. But it's just, in a general sense, never a good thing that you have A and B over here and child in the middle, and it's like a tug of war. It's not good.
Yeah, and those high conflict, like divorces, high conflict custody cases, it's so difficult. It's just, and I mean, clearly this is now, right? Like, this clearly is. And I wonder what is like the time frame, Mr. Bederow, if you, or do you know, like, does it take as long as, I don't know. I've never had to, attend any family court things.
You're asking me about how the timeline of Massachusetts procedure works? Let me go consult my, Crayola dictionary and encyclopedia, and they'll get back to you. I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask the lawyers.
Let's go ask a magic 8-ball. Yeah.
You may get the same answer, but yeah, I mean, look, the lawyers who deal in Massachusetts family court all the time would be much better suited. My answer is, I have no clue.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to continue to support Kelsey. And
Well, she made a lot of money yesterday. I understand.
she did make a lot of money yesterday, and what a great show for Will and for everybody that was able to do. Will does great with those 12-hour streams anyway. Always has.
Yes, Will, if you're out there, that's a nice job.
Yeah, very nice job. And I wanted to also ask you now. Oh, speaking of, so I was looking at a family court. I saw that Chopped, like it's a channel on YouTube that I love that cuts up court so that I don't have to listen to sidebars and all the shit. And I love them. And they had the family court of like it was there from October, and they just put it up 22 hours ago for Kelsey and Justin. And I was like, holy shit. I didn't really think, like, I think maybe you could get that, but I didn't really know that we had access, because I thought that like when there's minors involved and stuff that we weren't allowed to have, to have access to it in family court. But I guess we do, because it's publicly available.
I don't know. I don't.
It's wild.
Yeah. One thing when you try to be a credible lawyer that people ask your opinion, it is important also, if you don't know, to say you don't know, and if appropriate, stay in your lane and not pontificate as a faux expert about everything. As far as Massachusetts family court procedure and access to this, I just don't know.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go watch that at some point because I wasn't able to, but it was only like 30 minutes long. And I was like, oh shit, this is from October of 2025. So I'd like to catch up. I didn't have any knowledge of it previously. Now, another place that I was hoping to discuss with you, have you caught up on Ted Daniel reporting about Mass State Police Scott Quigley?
Vaguely.
About this car accident.
Yeah, and the cop who kind of glazed over it, and this is the one that was in the Middlesex DA's office, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, basically, I don't study this stuff, but I mean, I've heard of it, but I'm not that up to date with it.
Well, I want to say that like on Thursday, he was indicted for felony motor vehicle homicide.
Appropriate.
Yep. And it is alleged that he was not just negligently driving, but also under the influence in an unmarked cruiser, which veered into a 37-year-old Angelo Schettino. And he was a disabled man who was in a wheelchair accessible van. And 31 days afterwards, he died of those injuries. So, I mean, the mother of this young man who perished was saying that, like, it shouldn't have to take a mother 2.5 years to get to the truth of what happened. And Mahoney, who is the attorney for the family, said, basically, giddy up, mofos, because it's not just Quigley. Clearly, it can't be just Quigley, because Quigley couldn't have covered up for Quigley, in what happened and the aftermath of that after that crash. This has me all the way muffed up. I don't know why this is like Ted has been digging so deep into this, and I love Ted Daniel, by the by. He's incredible, and he has fought and fought and fought for release of right. He wants all the shits, right? Which I'm like, get it, boy. But this was presented as a medical event, right? That the officer had a medical event, and he veered, and it nothing to look the other way, nothing to see here. And then because of a subsequent additional case, it ended up coming out that someone was alerted to, oopsie doops, we may have a problem here, because he blew over the legal limit and no one ever knew. He was never what is happening in this fucking Commonwealth, pardon my French, that we are allowing these, Mr. Bederow, this is, I want to talk about a culture of just the tall blue wall, it still exists, and it's like, crumble, all of you assholes, cut the shit, act normal, be professional. If you've made a mistake, fall on the sword. And also, your band of merry assholes, your band of brothers needs to be broken up, because it's not us versus you. You were supposed to be here to protect and serve, not the other way around.
Well, yeah, I don't know what to say other than they're very serious allegations.
Yeah.
If true, he should be vigorously prosecuted, and if it leads to other cops and other cases being impacted, you need to deal with it. But beyond that, like anyone else, he is entitled to due process. Just because he's a police officer, he doesn't give up his other rights. But the allegations are horrible, and if there's if this is really a systemic case of corruption, which is what the allegations are. I mean, if they're covering up for him, that is per se corruption. And then this, again, you can impact other cases, and they ought to go after him vigorously as he wants. Him and the other cops involved can fight it however they want. And the key is that shine light on it, let the process play out publicly. I mean, the public needs to know when it's a corruption allegation. It needs to be done in the open. I'm sure reporting that magnitude or covering it will be, but it's just another latest example of very serious allegations that are in Massachusetts, which are just quite disturbing.
Well, and Mr. Bederow, I'm just not understanding. Help me. Please help me to understand how, if a cop, and this is not alleged, okay? It's not alleged at the point that he blew he was under the influence. He blew over the legal limit in an unmarked cruiser that he got into a car accident in. How is it possible that 2.5 years go by and it is, hush, hush, hush. And also, you're a lying sack of shit because you had that it was a medical event. Well, it wasn't a medical event because you have a clear indication of an OUI at the time of the event. So I don't get he deserves good due process. Absolutely. But what the hell? How does that slip through the cracks of we're not discussing this?
No, it doesn't slip through the cracks. It's corruption. Again, if true. I don't prejudge and whatever, but if what you're describing is all accurate and true, it's not slipping through the cracks. It is an actual corrupt conspiracy of him and other people who would help protect him from being detected. Whether it's not taking a test, diddling with the test, all kinds of things, sweeping under the rug. So it's very simple, actually. He can't do that himself. It takes cops investigating or responding to the scene to help, make it disappear. And then the problem is this guy is involved in other serious investigations. Those defendants don't have a right to know the truth about his credibility. They're deprived of their right to potentially learn about this and impeach him or see what other bad acts he's done. And that could affect his credibility. He's committing crimes of dishonesty. That's the most important thing for a witness's credibility. Not even killing someone, but you lied and forged and did this. I mean, that's dishonest. Even a murderer, to be honest, right?
Right.
But when you're assessing somebody's credibility, if you have prior examples of dishonesty, that's the most important thing. So this could explode into a huge scandal. I think we mentioned this weeks ago. This ought to be a much bigger story, depending on where, because it has the potential to blow up any number of cases in that office involving all of these alleged dirty cops. But it's not an accident, or it's not surprising. If it's true, it involves corruption. That's all.
Yeah, I'm gonna be following this because it's my area and it is important to me. And I feel my heart breaks for that family. And for anybody else who has possibly been negatively impacted by wrongdoing, like just period, like good old fashioned doing the right thing and doing the wrong thing. And it's like, if you have consequences, and I've discussed this, you've discussed this with me, even if, let's say, going back to Kelsey, if there was a substance use disorder with anyone, right? Like if Justin has a substance use disorder, if Kelsey had a substance use disorder, if anyone has a freaking substance use disorder, even if you are a public servant or a nurse, you could go on you could go on a SARP program, right? Which is like, you have to get your shit together. You have to get your shit together, but you're human, right? So it's when these things, in my opinion, are not dealt with, when there is that good old boy club, when there is this ability to not face the very simple reality of, Houston, we have a problem here, then you don't deserve to have the job in which you have. If this cop messed up, if Quigley messed up so bad that he was drinking and got into this accident because maybe like it was out of hand. I don't know what's going on in his personal life, A, B, C, or D. I'm not speculating on that. But the fact that you blew over the legal limit after what ended up being a fatal car accident, shame on you. I don't know how, Mr. Bederow, I would not sleep at night. I'm going to tell you this right now. I would not be able to put my head on a pillow and get an hour, a wink, a moment of rest if I knew that I did something like that or hurt somebody and a family, and that like I didn't take accountability for that action. I'm just saying, I don't get it, and I'm not going to have, I can't have a compassion for it. Sorry.
Most criminals, in fact, meaning like if they did what they're accused of, generally don't self-report and say, I'm a criminal, please arrest me, prosecute me, and whatever. It's just human nature. He was in a position of power and trust. If he's drunk driving, he killed someone, and then they cover it up and they falsify records and all that. Obviously, he's not qualified for public service. He ought to be prosecuted. You could go on and on. That's not controversial. And the reality is it's happening. It's happening too late if it's true. But he's never going to work again, presumably. There's a good chance he'll go to prison. I don't know what to say other than, nobody believes that, it's a good thing. But there is a process playing out. It ought to play out. And if he's guilty, he'll get no quarter. What he did is awful. Yeah. And especially if he's in a position of trust, he betrayed the public trust. He may have screwed up other cases. He ended a life. You could go on and on. Yeah, he's got problems, assuming the evidence alleged is credible and provable.
Right. And there was one other, actually, so I'm going to keep following this one. But then Aiden kind of blew the top off of a situation this week, too, with the Samantha, God, I'm not going to say her last name right. Hold, please. Pelrain and David Foran. She's a Plymouth cop that was alleged to describe multiple alleged incidents that involved CSA of a child in their care. Did you hear anything about that?
Yeah, I heard about it. Again, I'm familiar with it. I understand it started with an allegation, almost like a family court type allegation. It resulted in suspension, and then it kind of blew up into an arrest. And now, I don't follow it that closely, but presumably some of this may be on video or something. What's to say? It's gross. It's outrageous. Forget being a police officer. You go to prison for a very, very, very long time if that's true and provable.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else you need to say. The idea of a police officer, again, in a position of trust, a sworn public servant, doing this to a child in their own care, from church or whatever it was.
Oh my God.
It's gross. But again, all I know are the allegations. Let them go get lawyers, let them fight, let them test the evidence. And if they're convicted, then they're going to get all of it, and they're going to deserve all of it if this is what they did.
Yeah,
Stunt
they actually do have lawyers, and I wanted to do a little.
Well, of course they have lawyers. I mean, how
No. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. No, but no. Of course, you were saying that they have lawyers, but you know what's interesting? You know who the lawyer is?
I have no idea.
And this, I'm going to have a little pushback here, I'm sure, but I don't care. Pellerine's attorney, Joseph Krowski Jr., flatly Krowski.
Okay. He's a good lawyer. You may like him. You may not like him.
Hello?
You may get all. You can't hear me?
No, I can hear you now. Wait a minute. Hold.
So they got a good lawyer.
Let's do Marco Polo because I want to make sure that too. I'm gone. I'm back.
All right.
Oh,
The fact that
hold on. Stay with me.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
I'm here.
Hello.
I'm here.
Yeah, but why am I going? Where am I going?
I don't know. Look, the fact that the lawyer is Krowski is good for them. He's a good lawyer. And anyone who's critical, oh, he represented Colin Albert or whatever, people get good lawyers, including bad people. That's what you do. And just because they represent people you don't like is not a reason to, be upset. I mean, I've represented some terrible, terrible people who've committed horrific crimes. You think Krowski represented Colin Albert and I don't like him, who cares? People, they hate Hank Brennan. He represented Whitey Bulger, whatever. Lawyers who have reputations and skills represent real clients. Does anybody dislike, who supports, Karen or whatever, hate Alan Jackson because he represented Harvey Weinstein? Of course not. We represent from time to time people who need lawyers.
Right.
So, and people with problems often want to hire good lawyers. That's kind of how it works. Something that Twitter trolls. I saw a funny tweet the other day attacking all of us lawyers as being, for sale. And, if you're a bad guy, call these guys. And if you're guilty, and whatever her name is, one of those Twitter lunatics. But anyway, the point is they're in trouble. They need a good lawyer. They got one. That's all. I like Krowski. I don't know him personally, but I've debated with him online professionally. I don't dislike him because he represents people I'm adverse to in another case. That's not how lawyers are.
No, and I've debated with him on Court TV, so I have respect for Mr. Krowski, absolutely. However, I don't have respect for this, and they do absolutely. That everybody deserves an attorney. Everybody has a right to a zealous advocacy and defense. Right? This is what I don't respect. Joseph Krowski Jr. flatly denied all the allegations and said that the alleged victim in this case has had a troubled past. Krowski said the child came to the couple's home because there was, quote, no place else for him to go after the teen made allegations against his biological parents. Quote, he certainly came to the home with documented problems, Krowski said. Quote, he was on medication and had several diagnoses. So when you victim blame a child's sex, whether here nor there, you're making a statement outside of court, that feels, I got the ick, and I would say it to his face, and I'm going to actually requote that, and I'm going to say it on Twitter to him because I know he follows me, and I'm going to say, Joe, you're better than that. For you to do that, you're saying that a teen, this is I get that I understand completely that they have a right to a defense, but he could have come out the gate and he could have said, we firmly deny these allegations, and you didn't have to go there. That was a low blow, and it will come out. If this person is lying, this former child that was in your care is lying about this, then that needs to come out too. But for you to take that swing felt unnecessary and sickening to me.
So maybe this will be compelling YouTube or whatever. I don't agree with about 85% of what you just said.
Ooh, okay.
It was perhaps a little detailed and a little strong about diagnoses and things like that. They didn't choose to be vilified publicly. And again, if there's allegations of child abuse and whatever, you're going to get vilified. He's trying to respond, and clearly the defense is going to be that the reporter, meaning the reporter of what happened, not media reporter, is not a credible witness. And if he's not credible, then the claims may not be credible. That's a general statement. So if he wants to say that we believe that there are going to be credibility issues,
Of course.
and I think perhaps the better approach would be, I'm not going to get into that now, but I would encourage the public, no rush to judgment. Everybody relax, but there are like serious credibility issues, which will come out in due course, saying there are multiple diagnoses. That's a little strong for me initially, but other than that, I'm not offended in the least in him pushing back publicly and saying, in a general sense, we don't think these allegations are credible. There are issues that are going to impact the alleged victim's credibility. Getting into telling the public that there's going to be mental health and that sort of thing maybe is a little too far. But other than that, he's zealously representing clients, and that I don't know what the evidence is or what's going on, how credible or not it is, but I'm going to tell you that mostly with what he did doesn't offend me in the least.
So are you with okay, so like you think it's all right, and teach me if I'm wrong, because I got like flustered over it.
The allegation about, there are mental health issues without any of that being out there publicly yet. But in terms of saying these are not credible.
What are you saying? He's got nowhere to go. He had nowhere to go before he came to you.
What do you mean?
That's what he said. That's what Krowski said.
He's previewing a defense about how he ended up there. I mean, again, I don't, that in and of itself, I mean, what's wrong with that?
Allegations, there was issues with the biological parents. Like, that's insinuating that he had SAA allegations against his biological parents. If that's not a direct correlation and that didn't happen, like, what are we doing?
Well, hypothetically, and I don't know this, I don't know anything about the case. If he has a history of making allegations that are unfounded, I don't know if that's the case. I'm like way speculating here. If you are representing these people, you obviously, his defense is going to sink, rise, or fall with the credibility of the allegations and whatnot. And if it's on video, good luck. I mean, this is all pointless, silly, okay? Because you can't have sexual relations with somebody in that way at that age and whatever. But let's put all that aside. Let's suppose credibility is everything. And you are aware of unfounded and not credible allegations beyond this. That's central to your defense. Now, I come at two sides, okay? I mean, I represent people who have been subjected to horrible, horrible abuse. We've talked about it generically before. We're not going to do that today. But I've also represented people who have been absolutely 100% falsely accused about doing this. And I'm just telling you, I don't like the reference to, you're going to learn that this people might have had mental health issues. But in terms of saying, we don't think it's credible, and we're asking the public to be cautious, and when it all comes out, there's going to be a lot of issues that are really going to put this in a different context. Don't rush to judgment. Keep it 100%.
I agree with all of that.
But he might have gone a little too far, but I don't think this is, again, you have to also remember, why is he saying any of this? because he's getting clobbered,
representing, yeah.
but because he's getting clobbered publicly, which again is the public's right to know. They report it. That's good journalism. But he's pushing back on the public narrative because his clients are being prejudiced. I'm not saying it's unlawful prejudice that it's being covered, but any lawyer who is zealously advocating is concerned about their client just getting publicly clobbered and is going to at least try to even that out a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, noted now. I don't know why that like rubbed me the wrong way so much. I was like, Joe, like it just rubbed me like, and if he said everything that you said, Mr. Bederow, every single thing that you said, hey, there's going to be more that's going to come out. We adamantly deny this, like wait for us or whatever. Like, there are things that you do not know. And my clients have been viciously maligned and attacked and like, whatever you want to say, I agree. But that, like, for me, I was just like, oh my God, like it went low.
A little strong. I agree, but I don't, it doesn't send me off the deep end. Maybe it's because, lawyer to lawyer, I know the position he's in. I know what he's doing. I know that he's zealously advocating for somebody that's just getting clobbered in the public eye. And on the sympathy scale, I'm sure if you took a public poll, if anyone's ever heard of this, 99.999% would say that this female police officer is a scumbag and all the things that go with that. And he's trying to deal with circumstances in the way that he sees fit. Did he go a little far? Maybe, but I'm not that offended.
Noted. Okay. Well, and this is why we have these conversations so that I can know, like I can say my opinion, you can say yours, and then I can.
You have to agree. I'm not like decreeing right and wrong. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people who think that was gross and whatever. I'm just.
But if there's a legal, if it's. But here's why it's important to have you, right? Is because I can feel that way about it initially, and then like. Understanding, I'll still tell Krowski that was low on his behalf, but knowing now that like, well, Kim, he's quite literally just zealous advocacy providing that at this point still.
It would be more problematic if he didn't have a good faith basis and was just throwing it out there like out of nowhere. That's ethical. And I'm not, by the way, I don't believe he would do that. Again, you can meet him for who he represents. But he has a good faith basis based on the investigation and information he has. Just not the kind of thing that I would be that overly critical of. He's a zealous advocate. He's a skilled lawyer. He's tough. He's got a tough case, and he's pushing back in the way that he sees fit. And it also, it really also depends to me, where did he say it? If he said it in open court, it's even more or less upsetting to me. As
this is in several diagnoses, some issues in uniform. Krowski suggested the alleged victim had fabricated the story, saying that when he turned 18, the alleged victim requested ba-ba-da-beep-ba-ba. Krowski says that the problem started
because in court or to the media outside of court. If he's saying
Lauren Silver did this, I don't know where it was. This is
an article in the context of defending his client in a bail argument. Okay, trying to convince the judge that this case is overcharged, credible. If he said this in court, I'm not offended by this in the least. It would be ineffective not to do this.
Okay.
If it's in court.
Yeah.
I'm still
I don't know. Let me see.
If it's outside.
Someone says, I believe it was outside the courtroom. But and also Candy, look at you showing up. Thank you. You're right, babe. I know. We're all in, and that's important. And you have to remember, and I don't mean it like I'm not saying that those people are guilty of what they've been accused, Lovies. I'm just saying that I thought it was coming out the gate a little strong. And it felt, I got the ick from it. I don't know how to describe it other than that. I was like, Joe, come the frig on.
It's an icky case. I mean, it's gross.
It's a very icky case.
It's a horrible allegation. It's a horrible fact pattern. Everybody wants to take a shower and whatever. But you know what? It is in these tough cases and with like awful people, if it's true, that need real lawyers who are willing to roll up their sleeves, be zealous, and get in there and do what they're going to do, because that you need that. It doesn't mean we have to agree or disagree about the way he handled this one particular thing, but
and that's not me also saying that I have any disrespect in my heart for Joe Krowski Jr. either. Joe Krowski Sr., I think he's a little meanie sometimes, but Joe Krowski Jr., absolutely not. I have never had an ill word between us, and he has been respectful to me, and as I have him. He's a good lawyer. He's a good, it's just that that was like, I don't know. And it, for whatever reason, it triggered something in me that I was like, did you have to? Because it's not just a regular accuser either. This is a child. You are like, or was a child. Like, I don't know. Screw. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the puss with it, but I can't.
But obviously the fact that it's a child makes it worse. You feel worse. But let's be very clear now to go into like lawyer mode on the other side. The fact that someone is a child accuser doesn't give them a pass about whether it's credible or not. You can have sympathy for it, and you shouldn't discredit it just because it's a child. But there's no like you get better credibility because it's more sympathetic. At the end of the day, the evidence is either credible or not. And I agree with what just popped up on the screen. You don't know what's out there, but people are going to get more fired up because it's a child accuser.
Yeah.
But we don't skip the evidence and just say guilty or probably guilty because it's sympathetic. The evidence is either credible or not. And what he's saying is this is not credible.
Yeah. Totally understand. So thank you, Mr. Bederow. See, we can have a little spar every once in a while. Still my friend. Okay.
See, well, here's a message to all, you people who live on Twitter and have nothing else to do but scream and yell. You can agree about or disagree about criminal cases and not scream at each other and not attack them for, the way they look or their income level or this or that, and like go on and live your life and be happy and agree to disagree. You can do it. It's not that hard.
Yeah. That's us touching grass together. Okay. We're fine. Because we have lives. No. So that's it, Mr. Bederow. And I just wanted to say, so everything, just a little follow-up, or may I ask you for an update? I know that motion to dismiss got moved to May 14th.
I think that's right. Yeah. Off the top of my head, I don't know. I think it's May 14th.
May 14th. And you will be back. So I hope that
in May. Yeah.
May,
no planned trips until then. Yeah. Not out there.
Oh, okay. But you are going. When do you leave again? Or are you leaving? Are you going to be home for Easter or no?
When is Easter?
Next Sunday.
I will be flying next Sunday home.
Okay.
That Easter Sunday.
Okay, so
Sunday.
No, that is true. You did tell me that. Yes, you are. So you're going to be flying, and we were saying that like you would be in Arizona.
I will be in Arizona
on Easter, and that's why you were like, Kim, there's no way that we're doing an 8:00 Eastern time Sunday service if we do one, because you would say that it would be 5 a.m. there. So we would have to at least move it forward because we're not doing 5 a.m. anything, correct?
It certainly would not be Sunday for sure.
Right.
I don't know. It would, but if there's a chance to get a nice desert backdrop, Camelback Mountain, nice desert landscape, sure, happy to put that in the background for an hour or whatever. But depending on if the sun's sleeping and doesn't want to go do stuff, Actually, it's very interesting because not far from where we're going to be staying, apparently, I didn't know this, the NFL annual meetings are in Scottsdale beginning tomorrow or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And based on some of the places that we have nice dinner reservations planned out, there's a good chance of some potential overlap there. And I hope we run into your favorite football coach or somebody like that who's all out there. We'll see.
My variable?
Yeah, well, he was out there, I know, because he's there for the meetings and was at ASU's pro day the other day. So, hopefully,
if you see Coach Vrabel and you don't take if you don't take a picture, I don't even care if it's egregious and you're like just taking a picture, like, because if you're like Kim, I would never, but like if you don't do it and send it to me, I'll cry.
Hey, I hope he's going to Durant's. That's all I'll say.
All right. Let's send a message. No, just kidding. Send it by Crow that we're going to be at Durant's. Okay. Or he's going to be at Durant's, not me. Okay. So listen, you'll be in touch with me and potentially maybe we could do like a Saturday service at some point. If our birthday boy, 16 years old.
We've got a great itinerary planned for the two of us to just do a lot of stuff. It's a maybe. It really, I mean, I'm certainly not going to like take away from what we're doing, but if we're just sitting around passed out, tired for an hour here or there, it'd probably be very short notice, maybe an hour or so, but it really, I mean, if we're out there doing our thing and, he wants to do his thing, we're going to do that first.
I love that. And of course, we expect nothing and we are appreciative always. So thank you, Mr. Bederow. We've hit it. We've done 2 hours together. Our Sunday service, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? Yes, they're teenage girls and they're obnoxious and they're rude.
Look, in my house, early morning, it's me and the dogs.
I know.
That's it. Mm-hmm. That's right. It's me and Winnie in the morning. That's how it works here, particularly.
Okay, I would never call you Mark, you know this, but Mark and Winnie in the morning sounds like a morning show I only want every day. Give it to me. Put it in my veins.
She's got the best routine. Wherever I have morning, I mean, she's, they're dogs, creatures of habit. She gets up, goes to the same spot, follows me here, follows me there, and then gives me that look like, let me out. Winnie and I have a very good morning understanding.
Absolutely. Duh. And best dog dad award goes to Mr. Bederow.
Yeah.
All right. Be good. Have the best trip. Safe travel. Have a wonderful time with your son. I know that you'll, if the spirit moves you, we'll speak. If it doesn't, I'll talk to you the next week.
We'll see.
All right. Bye, Mr. Bederow. Thank you so much. As always, you're the best. Is he the best? He's the best. We did it, lovies, as usual. Somehow we've made it. And that concludes our Sunday service. I wish all of you a wonderful day. Go forth and prosper. No weapons formed against you shall prosper. Okay. On that note, I got 2 fucking 5 buckets behind me. And we're going to lunch with Meatball Morrissey Sketty Stain on the 11th of April. Not next week because Easter. But get a basket, get in a swag bag from our Meatball Morrissey. She's an angel. We're going to go somewhere off of 93 for lunch on the 11th. And I'm very excited. So I love your faces. I wish you a wonderful beginning of your week. And I'll talk to you probably tomorrow or Tuesday for a Talk Shit Tuesday. Love your face. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Great job on the news.
Thank you.
We will, Courtney and I will share what happened when we went to dinner last night, Sunday dinner coming up. And as